Hello and welcome to my tutorial into sign design on Affinity Designer.
Affinity Designer is a really powerful design tool that you can use to make your own vector designs, sign designs, artworks, graphics, and pretty much anything else you want to make. I've been using it for around 2 to 3 years and it is absolutely fantastic. When I'm at home and not at work, I'm always using Affinity Designer to use all my designs. And I just genuinely love it. And not only that, it comes at a fraction of the price of Adobe Illustrator, which is almost $30 a month here in Canada. And I managed to pick this up for $56 on sale. And it's a lifetime subscription, so you don't have to pay monthly fees or anything like that. And I'm not affiliated in any way, I just really love the program. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so we've just opened our program, Affinity Designer, and it's come up with this little window here. And pretty much what it is you can pick the size of your artboard from various different presets. So a lot of these ones are print presets for different types of paper, and you have business cards and things like that. And we kind of want to ignore these ones for now because we're just going to get straight into our sign design. So come all the way down, and I've got a few ones that I've made myself, and I think this one's going to look pretty good because what I was thinking of making today was a simple pub sign. Something really basic. So what I think would be a good one for that is this 96 by 16. I mean, it's fairly small, but the aspect is pretty good, and it doesn't really matter about the overall size in this case. So now we've picked our preset, and if you wanted to adjust the preset, you could just come here and type in new sizes in this box, and it will give you the little preview up there. But to be honest, I like 96. That sounded pretty good to me. And you can also swap between points, inches, pixels, and I think you'll be, oh yeah, here we go, millimeters and centimeters as well. But at the moment I'm just going to stick to inches. Now I'm not going to get too much into the color profiles. In this case it doesn't really matter, we're just going to use this to create our vector artwork, and the margins and bleed don't really matter in this case either. Although if you're doing a really big artwork, what you can use is the scale option, and this will help you scale up your designs. But at the moment, let's just go back to layout, and now that we have our sizes, let's create. And now it's just come up with our box, and this box is going to be our sign. Now before we begin any of that, I should go over some of the tools that you'll be able to use for this. So this is your selection or the move tool, and with this you'll be able to grab different things on your design and move it around the board. This is the node tool, and with this you'll be able to affect the nodes inside of the vector design. We'll get into more of that at a later date, so we probably won't be using that today. We have pen tool, vector brush tool, knife tool, and these are pretty good, but we are going to stick to these tools today. We're going to be mostly using our shape tools. Now these are one of the most important tools that you have, and with these shape tools you'll obviously be able to lay down some shapes. So you can grab hold of it and then drag and drop to make a box, or if you want you can drag and drop and hold the shift key and you'll be able to make a symmetrical box. Alright, let's get rid of that again. And the same for circle, you can drag and drop, shift key, keep the proportions. And the star tool, now this one you can obviously make your star, the shift will keep it in proportion again, but there are a couple more options that you can pick. You can pick the amount of points it has, and to be honest it goes to frankly the ridiculous, but really useful, and I think it goes, yeah, there you go, down to a triangle. And I won't get too much into the in-depth look at this shape at the moment as we don't really need that. Let's just go and keep to the basics today. And we're going to get rid of that. Let's delete, and by clicking the delete key And the most important thing that we have to learn to use is our text tool. There are two different ways you can have your text, and one of the ones that I think is really cool, and I notice Illustrator doesn't have this, or I haven't been able to find it, is the artistic text tool. And what you can do with this is like how we did with our shapes. You can drag and drop, and you'll be able to put your lettering down there and see it before you pick the size that you want. So let's just drop that there, and this has created for us our text box. So if we type in here, so pub name, let's go dog and duck. Yeah, okay, and that's our text. We'll just click on our move tool, and we can move this to the middle. And notice how it comes up with these lines here, and it will kind of pull it to these positions. Now what it is it's telling me that this is in the middle of our artwork, and we can drop that there, and it's measured that all for us straight off the bat. Now that is called snapping, and you can turn that on and off up here. I normally leave it on, just comes in really useful, but if you don't want it, you can turn it off and you'll be able to move everything freely. But we'll click it back on and we'll go back. So our next tool is, these are our colors. Now to be honest, I don't really use this section an awful lot. When it comes to color, what I like to do is come over to here. Now what this is effectively a properties chain. Now this will have most of the information and details on whatever we've got selected at the moment. Now as you can see around our lettering here, that we have this already selected. If we click away from it, there's no box there. If we click on it, we see our box. So everything here, you can see these different tabs. We're going to have color, swatches, which is going to be a list of all of the colors that we have used in our artwork if we wanted to go back and use the same color again. We have the stroke page. We'll go through that a little bit more later. Appearance, and we'll probably go through that one a little bit more later as well. So at the moment we'll go back to color, and we'll leave that as that for a second. And you'll notice that this is a different panel. This is the layers section, and you'll notice that if you have more than one thing on at one time, and you'll notice that if you have more than one object on the page at one time, so say we made a box over here, holding the shift, keeping the proportions, and now we have a rectangle here. Now this has been added to the layers channel, and then whenever we add a new shape like this, it will always go to the top of the page. So for instance, if I moved this box over some of our lettering here, you'll notice that the lettering is getting covered up. Now that is because whatever is at the top of this chain is at the top of your picture. Now if we drop this below our lettering, you can see the lettering pop in above it. So this is your layers channel. Just think of it as a big list. The further down the bottom you go, the further back in the artwork it is. Now I'm not going to go into too much detail about any of these at the moment. We're definitely not going to need these right now. But another thing that you'll find useful is if you have something selected and you come down here, you have your transform page. And this, you can use this to see what size is your artboard current. You can see what sizes the selected item is that you have currently. And so you think it's probably a little bit too big or a little bit too small, you can come to these little arrow things here. See, these little dots come up, and when the arrow shows, you can make the artwork bigger and smaller. Now as a default with text, it will always keep the proportions of the text as you drag and drop. If you hold the shift key, like we did before with our shapes, you can actually wiggle it around and completely destroy the lettering, and yeah, don't ever do that anyway. So just ignore that. But let's move our shape back. So now we're back in the right shape and we're back in the middle there. And we can get rid of our box. Don't need that anymore. So that's the real basics of some of the tools that we have in the program. To be honest, most of the time you'll be using a combination of these tools and then some of the extra ones to fill in some of the gaps. You'll be surprised at some of the incredible things that you can do just using these basic tools alone. So we have our text down, but it really doesn't look like a very good sign. So really what this could do with is deciding what we want to do. So like what I was thinking was we could take our box tool and give ourselves a black background. Now I've added a new thing, so it comes to the top of the layers. We'll drop that below, and we will change the color of this. Now what we do is we come up to our colors panel. Now normally as a default I have it set to that, but you can pick the different types of ways that you can pick your colors through here, but most of the time I use wheel, so I'd recommend just sticking to the color wheel for now. So we're in our color panel and you'll see these two circles, and these will signify what colors we currently have. And this first one is our fill color, and this second one here is our stroke color. Now the fill color will affect what's inside the shape, and the stroke color will just affect what's outside of the shape. Now you can't see it right now. Let's just make the stroke a little bigger. There we go. Now you can see our stroke. And if you can change the stroke color here and get whatever kind of color you really want. You can swap this around, find a nice color that suits it, but to be honest, neither of these colors do. So let's get rid of the stroke by clicking on our little cancel button here. If you want to get rid of the colors, you just click on this little tiny button and it will take it back to blank, and at the moment it's just clear. So what I was thinking was we pick our fill one and we drag this to black. Ooh, looks really nice now, doesn't it? Right, anyway, so let's grab our dog and duck text, and I was thinking that we could do this in like a gold color, so like we're making a gold leaf pub sign. So let's try and find a color that's relatively close to gold. Seeing as this is just an artwork for us to probably make our sign from, it doesn't need to be awfully close. It's just kind of for us to visually look at and to understand how the sign's going to work. So we've picked our color just by kind of dragging it around the wheel. Remember, you want to kind of just find the right color somewhere in between red and the yellow there. So yeah, something like that. That's pretty good. Moving on, so we'll grab our selection tool and we can click off of that for a moment. So yeah, it's got some color, looking a little bit better, but the font kind of sucks. So what we can do is, I should probably show you that first, is we can either grab our text using our text tool. We can click on the text tool over here, and you'll notice that it comes up with this little icon that we kind of know as a little text icon. And we can click on it, move it wherever you want, and make your edits. But another thing you can do is, what I find is a lot quicker, is just double click, and you'll be able to get into the text box really easily. So there we go. Now what we wanted to do is change the font. Now we don't have to get rid of this. All we can do is highlight it, and we can come over here. Now this is where all of our fonts are. While you have the text tool open, or while you're highlighting text, this will be up here. And at the moment it's just Arial, but we want to change that. So I'm thinking something traditional. Probably not going to spend an awful lot of time picking a font here, so you know what, let's just do Times New Roman. And with our fonts, what we can do is we can pick the different styles of font that we have. So at the moment for Times New Roman, I only have the 4 different varieties here. But apart from that, you can obviously set them to bold, italic, or underlined. I never use the underline on here for this exact reason. Just never quite looks right. So let's just leave that alone. Once again, you can go to the font color, and there are a lot of different options that you can pick down here. Truth be told, I don't use that one very often, but character is the one that I want. And there's a lot of different information that you can change, like the kerning, the distance between the lines. Yeah, you can change an awful lot about the typography in here, but we aren't going to get a lot into that right now. So we'll close that again. And if you so what this is alignment. So if you wanted to align your text centrally, or align it to the left or to the right. And pretty much that covers most of the text options that you have on there, although there are some really cool things that you can have apart from that. So that's a pretty basic look at what we can do with our text. So now we've got our text selected here. I kind of like it. The kerning's a bit strange, so let's go in and deal with that. So we've double clicked and we're now inside of our text, and we'll move that over to where we see there's a problem area. Now a really quick way that you can deal with stuff on the fly is if you hold down the Alt key and type your arrows. So if you type right, it will make the distance larger. If you type left, it'll make it smaller. And so let's just bring this in a little bit here. That's pretty good. And bring that in there. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's not too bad. Not going to spend ages on this. Keep that at that. There we go. The dog and duck. Really basic. Now we've got our text here, and we're going to put it in the middle. So there we go. We have our main name down. And the spacing's okay, and we can carry on from here. So, what is the dog and duck? So the dog and duck is, we can give a little tagline here, make a new text, restaurant and bar. We'll go to our move tool, grab it, move it to the middle as well. And yeah, let's change this font over. Let's go for something a little different. Now what I like to do is kind of contrast the font underneath. So if the font up top is a serif font, let's go for a sans serif font underneath. Something still kind of elegant though, if we can. What kind of one do? Actually, that looks kind of nice. What weights do we have for that? Wouldn't mind something really thin. Let's keep searching. That's kind of nice, but not really gonna fit it. Yeah, that looks kind of nice. I like old Erica. That looks neat. But it looks way too close together. So we've grabbed it and we've selected it all. We can hold our Alt key, type the arrow keys, and we can make that a lot bigger. Now the spacing on this one is not perfect either. So let's take this in here. Now if you want to zoom in and out, like I did there, you just hold the Control key and you can scroll using the scroll thing on your mouse, and that will zoom in to wherever the mouse location is. Really useful. So Control key and you can scroll using the mouse. So back to the kerning, This one's really glaringly obvious. That R just seems so far away. So hold down the Alt key, type left on your keypad, and bring that in a little bit. Don't want to bring it in too far. Restaurant, and another bad offender here. And bring that in. Yeah, okay. That's not too bad. Just using the Alt key and the little arrow keys just to go through little bits and see if there's anything too glaringly obvious. Well, it's not too bad. Let's just move on. I'm not here to teach you about kerning. So let's zoom out, holding the Control and Scroll key, and then we can see the thing as a whole. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Could spend a little bit more time on it, but let's not do that today. So we have 2 lines of text down here. This is not looking too bad at the moment. Yeah, that's not looking too bad, but I feel like a good pub sign needs a good panel line. Now, there's a way we can do this one using our shape tools. But first, before we do that, let's click on this box here, because this is the size of our artboard. So while we've got our box selected here, you can see down in the transform panel that this is our sizes, 96 by 16. I guess the panel line should probably be around 1 inch in, something like that. So we've grabbed our box tool up here, and at the moment we're just going to kind of drag a random box over. It doesn't really matter because we're going to type it in anyway. So it was originally 96, we're going to go 1 inch in, but from both sides, so 94 inches, and by 16, so we're going to click on that and then type in 14. And this is made another box. And the reason why we've done this is because we want the box, but we don't really want this fill here. We actually just want the outline. So if we click this tool, it will flip it over. And now suddenly the color that was the fill becomes the outline. And in this case, now the fill is clear. So we grab back hold of our stroke color, and because we have used the gold earlier today, we can come into this swatches panel and you'll see the gold that we've used for this text over here. And we can click on this little gold thing and it will change the stroke for us. And we can drag this over onto here. And wow, that looks just terrible. This looks really bad. So what we can do is we can change this stroke by going to our stroke column here. And you'll see that this stroke is really pushing it up to the top and probably way over the top of what it needs to be. You'll also, you'll also notice that it has this rounded corner here as a default, and this is not really something you want for a panel line like this. So you'll be able to see that you can change the properties of this shape. Now what you'll see at the moment as well is that this line here for our box, the stroke will by default be set to come out from the center of that line. So if you bring it down, you'll just barely see the line, and then you bring it up and the stroke gets higher. But this is good for some things but not really good for others. You can change that to be on the inside of our shape line or on the outside. For this particular case, I'm going to stick it on the inside. So that means we have our full inch of distance on each side here. And we're going to bring that thickness down a little bit using our width tool here. And this little slider. And something like that for a moment. That seems pretty good. And when you move it to the inside, you'll notice that this corner becomes sharp because the constraint is now on the outside. So yeah, that looks pretty good. We've now got our stroke. Now if you wanted to... Now a quick moment to mention something. If you want to just move around the artboard and you don't want to be clicking on these things, what you can do is you can hold down on the space bar on your keyboard and it will have this little hand thing. And you can grab and pull over. And this can help you when you're moving around the board a lot. And you can often do that when you're working on small things as well. Because so you'll be zoomed into the artwork and you want to be making small changes here. Grab, move, grab, move, grab, move. But yeah, really useful tool. Okay, so far so good. This is looking pretty nice. Right, before we go any further, let's just sort out the space in there. That looks a little bit nicer. And what I think this could do with is a nice outline. So let's give this a stroke by coming over to our stroke panel over here. And we can drag our slider across. And that will make an outline, which we can't see because they're both the same color. So let's come over to our colors panel. And we don't want the fill color, we want the stroke color. And we're going to grab that and just make that a little bit darker. Yeah, that looks neat. Okay, that's a nice color. And we're going to come back, make our stroke a little bit smaller. And this time we're going to put it on the inside. And the reason why I've done that is because this now looks like a sign that has the matte gold leaf on the inside and the shiny gold leaf on the outside. Okay, that looks pretty nice. Apart from the rounded bits on the inside. You know what? Let's take our stroke and we will put it back in the middle and make it minor join. Let's see if that helped at all. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks nice. I just don't like these bits. So you know what? Let's put our stroke on the outside. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. Yeah, I like that. That's much better. Excellent. Now that looks like a really good outline. Perfect. Now, one thing we should know is if we come over to our wireframe view, and that's by clicking on this little button up here, what this will do is show us our actual vector lines. And you'll notice that our outline that we put on there is not actually a vector line yet. We do have to do one extra step to make that into a vector, which is something that we need to do if we want to make a drawing or a mask. So let's come back out of wireframe view mode, and what we want to do is we want to convert this to a text like that into curves. That's the first step. So we come to the layers, there's a little layer tab here, and then we can come down, convert to curves. Now this will be just curves instead of letters, and then we can come over here, we'll open up the group, and you'll notice that these are now all the individual letters that was part of that text box. So let's click on this, hold the shift key and click on the bottom one, and you'll now see that these letters have nodes and you're able to move these around and edit them how you want. But let's come over to our layers panel again, the layer tab. So you know what, let's just make this a little bit thicker. Yeah, that looks really good. Let's try that. Let's go there, expand stroke. Looks perfect. There we go. That looks neat. And we group them by pressing Ctrl G. And now when I grab hold of these, they come apart as one go. Excellent. So now let's go back again. And that looks great. That looks really, really nice. So there's one more thing we want to do before this is ready to send to the plotter. And we want to come back in and go click on our wireframe button again. And that is going to show that this borderline is actually still just a stroke. So what we want to do is we want to click on it, make sure it's selected. That'll be why. It's in lock. So we want to click unlock. And then we want to come over, make sure it's selected. Then go over to our layers panel again. Then we're going to come down, expand stroke. And now if we go back to our wireframe mode, you'll notice that these are both lines now. And here it is, it's ready. You can make a drawing out of this file, just perfect. A full vector artwork that you can take with you and make any size you like. And that's how we can design a sign in just under 45 minutes. And it looks pretty decent, and we can send this to our plotter now, and we're ready to go. Well, there we go. Thanks everyone for watching my tutorial in sign design on Affinity Designer. Hope you guys liked it. If you really like the video, make sure you give it a like. If you want to see more stuff like this, make sure you hit subscribe. If you want to support the channel, we now have a Patreon, which is in the description below. And if you wanted to just make a one-time donation to the channel, we also have the Buy Me a Coffee link below as well. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there'll also be another part to this video as well. We'll be looking a little bit further into a more advanced kind of design for signs, and probably a different layout as well. Because this one was kind of basic, I kind of want to show you a couple more of the features that they have in there as well. I've been Lewis the Letterhead, and until next week, bye bye.